All right, for more analysis on today's proceedings, we're joined by specialist investigator Mike Bolhuis. You can also remember to send us your comments and questions on WhatsApp to 072-110-5584, or you can give us a call on 010-594-6010, and you can also engage with us on X at Newzroom405. Mr. Bolhuis, a very good evening to you, and thank you so much for your time in joining us today. So we saw there Lieutenant General Khumalo just detailing some of those conversations between Matlala as well as Mr. Brown Mogotsi, just giving us the intricacies of how really they spoke about a lot of their dealings and the maneuverings around certain of their commodities and in the way that they were involved. Particularly what was concerning is how IPID seems to be manipulated in many of these conversations, an institution that really is meant to be independent and impartial.
Yes, but remember, the manipulation was allowed because it followed with money. The moment money enters the sphere, justice walks. And this is what organized crime and racketeering is all about. This is shocking. We've been exposing the corruption in the authorities for years. And if it wasn't for General Nkwanazi that stood up, and we thank God for that. And there are many other policemen now that's standing up that wants this to stop. But the information that is daily presented by yourselves and all the media outlets is just shocking beyond. And it just shows that businessmen having classified information and manipulating, as we've said, with money, corrupt senior police officials and government officials under the eye of our president. It's very difficult not to see the president not being implicated by all of this. There's just no way a president of this country can see this happening for years. And this has been happening since the time of General Salebi. Remember, at that stage, the corruption started. And it's like a baby. It's grown into a huge monster now. And fortunately, with digital and electronic communications that was confiscated from these criminals, otherwise we would have had nothing. Remember, if some of this information, which is digitally and electronically being discussed between parties, which is the cell phone, which is the most important form of evidence available today to bind criminals to their crimes that they have committed, is cell phones. If they were destroyed or not captured at that stage, we wouldn't have had this information. It would have been difficult to just deal with he says, she says.
I mean, you speak of it's impossible for the president not to have known that all of this is happening under his nose. And you take it back as far back as Jackie Selebi's time. Are you saying that all presidents that have served from then up until now were aware of such?
Oh, yes. Jacob Zuma was. He was part of the corruption. And I don't want to speculate. I only work with facts. So I am patiently waiting, as the public should be, and yourselves, the media. Let's see what comes out. But I can tell you now, there is just no way that if there's corruption in my organization, which is huge, I've got many investigators. They are all ex-policemen and specialist investigators. There's no way, if there's corruption in my organization over a lengthy period of time, that I wouldn't know of it or pick it up, or that there would be some form of something coming up that would make me aware of. There's just no way. I mean, all of these gentlemen, if we can call them that, always mingle and are together and discuss. And what was some of the most important discussions is crimes against women, elderly, and the children. Crimes in our country. How do we protect our country? Crime intelligence, which is supposed to, and IPID, which is supposed to report directly to the president. All these huge police units, all of them, all these generals are in direct communication with the president. How's it that not one just took him aside and said to him, or that he picked up in any of the wheelings and dealings over the years, that he hasn't picked it up. It's just difficult to believe.
And I mean, it's also quite interesting how we saw some of that communication with regards to payments for accommodation and travel arrangements for politicians. There was one that specifically spoke about that ANC gala event that happens during the January 8th statement, and just showing the proximity that, like you say, these gentlemen have to politicians.
Yeah, it is. You know, what's another shocking thing is that so many of these information that we're receiving now shows that these top policemen and government officials actually don't know the book. I don't think they've studied the book of policing, the book of doing good governance. You would think that a person in a government position is absolutely with it, understanding how to govern a country or his specific spot or position in the government. The same with the police. I mean, if you're a general, surely you would know what the 5 points of corruption is and fraud, misrepresentation, what is organized crime, what's racketeering. But all the more we see this, and we've seen this during the years, you get policemen with enormous positions and pay and salaries and rank that doesn't have a clue and cannot curb crime, cannot protect and serve, and just finds themselves to chase the money. And here's the thing again, money has made this giant. Money, when somebody has money, he always wants more. Even he gets a huge salary, he would want more. And once that stops, it's corruption in a level where it doesn't stop until it's exposed and you get rid of it. And in this situation, we need to make sure that the exposure is done completely and nothing is withheld. But what about afterwards? What about the results of that? There must be incarcerations, and everything that these criminals, which I call them now, then identified, should be taken for what they have. The monies, the cars, the houses, the bank accounts, all of it. There's no justice if you're just exposed. There's only justice once you've totally exposed and then incarcerated the criminals and taken everything that they have stolen from us, our country.
So, Mike, when we hone into some of the messaging that General Khumalo had just outlined earlier today, I mean, he spoke of one message where he says between the two showed a move to have the iPad connection assist them with the case of assault, with earlier messages showing a contact saved as Senzo Mkhunu, asking whether an arrest has been made. Can we trust Brown Mokhosi? Should it be that perhaps his close proximity to the minister is what he uses to maybe extort money out of Kat Matlala, and that there isn't really a clear linkage between himself and the police minister?
None of these guys can be trusted. None of them. It's only those that has come forward to expose the truth and with evidence. Remember, one of the first things Nkwanazi said, and that's why we support him. He didn't just stand up and say, he said he has evidence. So all these gentlemen that you are mentioning, Sabia included, all of them, if they want to prove their innocence, if they iPad, all of them, any of them, they have to prove it. But thank God for the digital and electronic communications that is in possession of this commission, as well as the those that are stepped up and is prepared to testify and give evidence. It should expose absolutely everything. It's our desire that nothing is not exposed. It's now time to have everything open and once and for all deal with this kind of criminality and stop it, because this kind of organized crime and racketeering has already brought our country to a situation of complete uncertainty and fear and paranoia, and it is breaking our economy as well as our country in its whole. I mean, people are terrified. They are in fear. They do not trust the police. And what can we do in a country that is crime-ridden if you cannot go to the authorities that can't protect and serve you?
I mean, earlier you said where money enters the sphere, justice walks. Some have described this as state capture 2.0. Is this what state capture looks like? What we are seeing in terms of these cartels and how they're using money to capture the justice system and some of the top brass within the police?
Never mind the justice system. never mind the police in itself, never mind the government, the country. These guys are, if this didn't happen, if this exposure didn't came about, I can tell you now, our country is already hijacked by criminals. But now we know who the criminals are. Remember what these guys are accused of: being involved in cash in transits, hijackings, tender fraud. You name any situation that is criminal, they have their hands in. They can pull their strings. There's nepotism. They can manipulate any unit whatsoever because they do it with money. And if money doesn't work, they'll kill somebody. I've explained it before. Organized crime thrives on two things: money, and if money doesn't work, they will deal with information, using information against you, and if that doesn't work, they will kill you, intimidate you, or hurt you. And nowadays, it is very easy to get a file, and these guys have all files on each other. That's another thing I need to mention. And that's why it takes so long for them to become whistleblowers and testify against each other, because they would say, but you've done this there, and you've done that there, and I know this about you, etc., etc. And then they withhold information, and they carry on, and this becomes as big as it is now. But the bottom line is, the witnesses of this commission that's coming forward, and those that have information must do it now. There is a stand-up. There is more policemen standing up, and there's a lot, if not most of the public, that is waiting and standing up and wants this now done and exposed once and for all.
I mean, you have worked in this sphere for quite some time, and you mentioned just how these cartels, in terms of how they operate. We saw yesterday with the SIU giving the report on Tembisa Hospital, making reference to a number of syndicates and how much money, 2 billion rands, that they've siphoned out of the Gauteng health system just with Tembisa Hospital. How prevalent are cartels in our country?
They're not prevalent, but crime can only flourish when there's an authority involved. So any form of cartel, I would rather seen as a form of gang or mafioso or organized crime syndicate that has the elements that those syndicates would, or groups that would require: businessmen, very, very rich businessmen, and then even the lower ranking police officials, which is the enforcers they many a times use, as well as hit squads, and then top policemen and government officials. There's your organized crime when you have those people involved. And that's the same from government level down or from gangs upwards. Gangs always have police connections, whether it's human trafficking, drug trafficking, extortion, any form of crime that's committed. They have their connections. They would say they've got these and those policemen in their pockets. Now, if you go up, it will go up to a level where the government is involved. And I forgot to say in the previous statement, actually give you a clear answer. Our country has been hijacked by these guys. That's why this commission and this investigation is so important. But the three things must happen. Exposure is not enough. We need to see the results of the exposure, and we need to see that real justice is executed on those that has committed these crimes in our country. Otherwise, crime pays.
Certainly.
We always say it so easily, crime pays. I'll tell you why: because they can commit it and can get away with it.
Mike, thank you so much for your time. We have run out of time, but we certainly will be keeping an eye on the Madlanga Commission to ensure that those that are responsible are held accountable for all that they have been accused of. Thank you for joining us this evening. So that was private investigator Mike Bolhuis speaking to us there about the latest events within the Madlanga Commission. We'll have more news after the break. Do stay with us.